Hi everyone, welcome back to Sweet Pea Sits Inspirations. I have another pattern for you guys today. It is called the Simply Twisted Cable Shawl. It is a little bit above beginner friendly, but please feel free to do this if you are a beginner. How I have worked up this pattern is it is easily to manipulate on sizing. If you need it a little bit smaller or if you need it a little bit bigger, it is easily manipulated. So what you're going to need is a worsted weight yarn of your choice. I am using the Red Heart Super Saver in the tan color, along with a 5.5 millimeter hook, some scissors, and a needle to weave in your ends. So we will go ahead and get started. How I start this pattern is it's going to have like a tapered look to it. That way it has a better finish to it, but also if you want to add a tassel, you can. So we're going to start off by chaining 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're going to have double crochet in that third stitch from the hook, and we're going to have double crochet in each of them chain stitches. So you should end up with 4 half double crochets. So I have 4 half double crochets, and we're going to chain up 2 and turn our work. So in that first stitch, the chain up does not count as a stitch, but we're going to go into that first stitch and we're going to do 2 half double crochets. We are then going to half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. And then in that last stitch, you're going to do 2 half double crochets in the same stitch. So you should have 6 stitches now. We're going to chain up 2 and turn our work. So again, in that first stitch, we are going to do 2 half double crochets, and then in the next 4 stitches, we are going to do half double crochets. Now when you get to that last stitch, you're going to again do 2 half double crochets. Again, chain up 2, turn your work. So you should have 8 stitches now. And then, so we're going to go back into that first stitch, 2 half double crochets, and then half double crochets until you get to that last stitch. You should end up having 10 stitches then. So we're just going to repeat that until you get 14 stitches across, and I will see you back around. You should now have 14 stitches all the way across, and we are going to chain up 2 and turn our work. So in that first stitch, we are going to double crochet, and then we are going to start on the cabling. So to do the cabling, we're going to skip the next 3 stitches, and we are going to do a front post treble in the next, around the next 3 posts. There's 1, 2, 3. So that's how it should start to look. So it looks like it's twisting, or it's leaning off to the side. So now we are going to go back into those 3 stitches that we skipped, but we're going to work on the back side of those trebles that we just made. So we're going to go into that first post that we skipped, and we're going to do a front post treble. So when we do these trebles, you want to make sure it's on the back side of the trebles that we just worked. So you might have to separate them stitches from each other, and you're just going to work a treble as normal. And we're going to do the same thing for the next 2. And go into that second one, do a front post, making sure you're back behind those first set of trebles, and do a treble crochet. And again. This is how it should start to look, so you can kind of start to see how it's going to cable out. Now we are going to skip the next 3 stitches again, and we're going to work a front post treble in the next 3. And instead of working behind those trebles, we're going to work in front of them. So back into that first post that we skipped, front post treble. Second front post treble. And then the third front post treble. So in that last stitch that we have, we're just going to do a double crochet. That was the first round of the cabling, and this is what it should start to look like. So we are going to work on the second row repeat. You're going to chain 2, turn your work, double crochet into that first stitch, and then all the way across until you get to that last stitch, we are going to back post, double crochet until you reach that last stitch. And I will meet you around. Again, this is the second row repeat. Now that I have done all of the back post for the cabling, and that last stitch, that's the oddball, you're going to just do a double crochet. So you're always going to have, when doing the cabling, you're always going to have a regular double crochet on both sides. We are going to chain up 2 and turn our work to work on the third row repeat, and we're going to double crochet into that first stitch and front post double crochet until we reach the double crochet that you actually work into the stitch and not the post, or around the post. So I will meet you around. I am now working into that last double crochet at the end of the round, and we're going to chain 2 and work on the 4th row repeat. So we're going to double crochet in that first stitch, and then again a back post double crochet until we reach that last stitch. I will see you back around. I am going to work into that last regular double crochet. We're going to chain up 4, and that is the 4 round repeat. I will go ahead and do the starting of the cabling so you guys can kind of get the idea. But you're going to repeat that until you get 8 of these cabling. And we will go ahead and do that first row repeat. So we're going to double crochet into that first stitch, skip the next 3, and you can see where exactly you need to place the stitches at, because it's more pronounced. So skip the next 3, front post treble crochet around that post, and do that 2 more times until you have 3 front post trebles. So now we're going to go back into those 3 stitches that we skipped, and we're going to make sure we are working behind these trebles again, and front post treble into that first, or around that first post. You're going to repeat that 2 more times. And you want to make sure that you are separating the 2, because you don't want to accidentally work over top of one of these trebles. So now that I've got the 3 front post trebles on the back side, we are going to skip the next 3 stitches and front post treble crochet in the next 3. And now since we've got those 3 front post trebles, instead of working on the back side, we're going to work on the front side now into those 3 stitches that we skipped. So front post treble into the next 3 post. That's how it should look. So we have 1 stitch left, and we're just going to double crochet. So that is the idea. So now you're going to chain 2, and then you're going to work back and forth through the 4 round repeat again until you get 8 of those cablings. After you get all 8 of the cablings, this is how it should start to look like. You will end on the back side of your work. You should have already done the regular double crochet for that last stitch. So now we are going to work on the increasing for the body of the shawl, and we're going to add 2 more double crochets into that last stitch to increase. And you don't have to, but it is a good idea to put a stitch marker on where the increasing, before you get to the increasing stitches, to separate the cabling from the body. It's just an easier way to figure out where the cabling ends and where the body starts. We are going to chain up 2 and turn our work. So now, working on the body, we're going to skip that first stitch. We're going to double crochet into that second stitch. Going back into that first stitch, and you're going to work over top of that first double crochet that we made and do another double crochet. So it should kind of, you won't be able to tell too much right now, but it should start to twist or have a twist to it. So I got my stitch marker still placed right there. We're going to double crochet in the next stitch, and then we're going to do the repeat of the first round of the cabling, which is, again, if you forgot, we're going to skip the next 3 and treble, front post, treble in the next 3 stitches. Work behind these trebles into the 3 stitches that we just skipped, but they are going to be a front post. Then skipping the next 3 stitches, front post, treble crochet in the next 3. Going back into those first 3 stitches that we skipped, and working over top of those trebles that we just made, and front post, treble in the next 3. Double crochet in that last stitch, chain 2, turn your work, double crochet in that first stitch, and then you're going to back post, double crochet in the stitches for the cables until you get to that regular double crochet before the stitch marker. I will meet you then. I am at the last stitch before the stitch marker. I'm going to double crochet and then I'm going to, working on the body now, going to, I can go ahead and place my stitch marker there. Going to skip that first stitch and work into the second one and double crochet, then going back into that first one that we skipped and crossing over, working in front of that stitch and double crochet. So the last stitch, which is the first stitch that we crossed over into, we're going to go back into that stitch and work an extra 2 stitches. So you only want to increase on the back side of your work. And the being for that is when you turn your work and you go to work on the front side of the body, you don't have increasing stitches right here, and it's noticeable that you have increased. So it kind of goes with the flow of the stitching. So we're going to skip that first stitch, work into the second, go back into that first stitch, cross over. So we're going to skip the next stitch, go into the second one and double crochet, going back into the stitch that we just skipped, and cross over, do a double crochet. So now we're at our stitch marker, and you're going to do the repeat for the cabling. And that's it as far as the body goes. You're just going to increase on the back side again, and you're going to increase until you get 54 stitches on just the body side. You're going to continue doing the increasing for, or not the increasing, but you're going to continue doing the repeats for the cabling, and I will show you how it should all finish out. To finish off the shawl, I had my last 2 increased stitches, which gave me the 54 stitches across the body plus the 14 for the border. So to finish off, all you gotta do is cut your yarn and then weave in your ends, and this is how your project should have turned out. I will insert some pictures at the end so that you can see in full length of how the shawl should look. But I thank you all for coming and joining me for this tutorial, and I will see you guys next time.